Our group used student biography cards to highlight 4 of our ELL students. The cards focused on language proficiency and academics. The highlighted students ranged from preschool to 7th grade, with the older students at a developmental or proficient level in their native language, the younger students unable to read or write in their native language. In addition to knowing the student's academic and language proficiency, it might also be beneficial to know about their family background, siblings, or any trauma they may have endured. The next 2 slides are a couple more of our students that we've highlighted. Our first language acquisition often begins with family members, friends, and caregivers. By the age of 5, most children understand some of the phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. The written language is often experienced through schooling. As schooling continues, students learn more complex aspects of oral language acquisition. Only 50% of our first language acquisition processes are complete by age 6, and most individuals require the remainder of their lifetime to complete these processes. There are 5 stages of second language acquisition. The first one is the pre-production stage, where the student is silent and receptive and takes in a lot of the information just through their ears. The next stage is the early production stage, where students typically have acquired about 1,000 words. The third stage is the speech emergent stage, where students begin communicating in short phrases, sentences, and questions. The next stage is the intermediate fluency stage, where they begin communicating in writing and speech with more complex sentence, and they begin thinking in the second language as well. The last stage is the continued language development or advanced fluency stage, where students have ongoing opportunities to engage in discussions and express themselves. There are 4 dimensions of learning. The first one is the sociocultural processes, where the classroom is set up in a friendly environment for students to be able to learn. The next one is the language development, where the child is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The next one is the academic development, where teachers can spend time teaching about the child's culture. They connect the subject matter with the real world and have high expectations for all students. The last one is cognitive development, where we gain insight into how the child learns best. We use explicit learning strategies to stimulate knowledge. The child uses higher order thinking skills, begins questioning, uses dialogue, and starts problem solving. The 3 environmental components that Wong Fillmore believes to be critical in the second language learning are motivation to learn, repeated exposure to fluent target language and language translation, and lastly, practicing of the target language in a social setting. The organization of the classroom environment is critical in the success of the exposure of the target language. Teachers must provide learners with a safe and supportive environment to learn. They can relieve some of the anxiety of the students by differentiating how students present their learning, for example, allowing them to verbally respond to small groups or partners versus the whole class. Teachers can also use technology or some language partners to provide the opportunity for repeated exposure to the target language. Second language acquisition involves the learning environment as well as certain learning competencies. Communicative competence is the ability to understand and use language effectively to communicate in social environments. It is the level of language expertise that enables users to depict and decode messages and to personally navigate the meanings within particular contexts. The context in which the discussion is happening is of great importance. If a student can use visual cues such as body language or facial expressions, they're much more likely to be able to figure out the meaning of the conversation. To understand the semantics of a language means to understand the relationship between appropriate use of words and language fluency. Interpretation and meanings of words, sentences, and symbols help to create a strong understanding of the language. Semantics is important for expressing and interacting with others, which helps to develop the capacity to understand and produce language. Attaining grade level norms takes longer when the student is not proficient in their first language. When the CLD student is schooled only in their second language and they have not established a strong proficiency in their native language, it takes a minimum of 5 to 10 years to attain grade level norms. When the student is schooled in both the first and second language, at least through 5th or 6th grade, it only takes 4 to 7 years to attain those same grade level norms. Educators value all the information they can get about their new students so they can offer them a valuable education. This concludes our presentation.